Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into another deep dive.
Always. What are we looking at today?
Today, it's all about the Dell G3223Q monitor.
Dell's venturing into the world of high-resolution gaming, it seems.
They sure are. And we've got a ton of info to sift through. Got the official specs from Dell themselves, of course.
And of course, we can't forget the reviews.
Right. Got to see what those who've actually put it to the test have to say. We've got Tom's Hardware and Writings.com in the mix.
Good sources. So for those thinking of hitting that Add to Cart button,
Or even just curious about what makes this monitor tick.
we're breaking it all down. The good, the not so good, and everything in between.
Exactly. No marketing jargon here, just the facts to help you decide if the G3223Q is one for you.
All right, ready to take a deep dive into this Dell G3223Q monitor?
Let's do it. I've been eager to dig into this one.
We've got a pretty good stack of material here, reviews from Tom's Hardware, rtngs.com, and even some stuff from Dell's own website.
Should be interesting to see how it all shakes out, right? What's the mission today?
Well, we got to figure out if this monitor lives up to the hype. Is it really the gamer's dream it claims to be, or is there more to the story?
You know, even before we jump in, the way Dell's marketing this thing is kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
It's part of their G series, which just screams gaming. But then they also talk about features for creators.
Yeah, they're definitely going for that whole versatility angle. But let's get into the specs.
Hit me with them.
Okay, so right off the bat, 32 inches, 4K resolution, 144 hertz refresh rate.
Whoa! Okay, that's a lot to unpack.
Right. That's a whole lot of screen real estate and some serious speed. Sounds like a gamer's dream to me.
It does sound pretty amazing for fast-paced games, especially if you've got a beefy PC that can actually handle it all. And the reviews agree. They rave about smooth visuals and how responsive it is.
But if you're like a hardcore competitive gamer...
Every millisecond counts, right?
Exactly. The reviews did mention that there are monitors out there with even faster refresh rates, like 240 hertz. But obviously, those come with a heftier price tag.
Always a trade-off.
Isn't it always? Now, something that really surprised me going through these reviews was how much they were gushing about the color accuracy.
Really? You don't usually see that with gaming monitors.
Right. It's usually all about speed and response time. But both Tom's Hardware and rtngs.com called the color accuracy exceptional straight out of the box.
Wow. They even said you might not even need to calibrate it, which is almost unheard of, right? Especially for a gaming monitor.
I know. It's like they're trying to win over the creators, too. Though there was a little caveat. They did mention that this amazing color accuracy is mainly in the sRGB mode.
So you might need to do some tweaking if you're working in a different color space.
Exactly. Which, speaking of tweaking, brings us to HDR. And here's where those reviews were a little less enthusiastic.
Yeah, the HDR was a bit of a mixed bag. On the one hand, it is HDR 600 certified.
Which, for those who don't know, means you should be getting better contrast, brighter scenes, especially in games and movies that support it.
Right. But it's a big but. The local dimming, which is supposed to enhance those HDR effects, apparently isn't that great.
rtngs.com did not hold back. They straight up called it terrible.
Ouch. What went wrong?
They specifically mentioned large dimming zones, which just don't really cut it for a truly immersive HDR experience.
So it's like they tried to include this cool feature, but it just doesn't quite hit the mark.
Yeah, seems like a bit of a miss. Something to keep in mind if you're looking for top-notch HDR performance. So HDR, a bit of a swing and a miss, but hey, there's more to a monitor than just picture quality, right?
Oh, absolutely. Gotta look at the whole package.
Exactly. So what about the design and the actual build quality of this thing? What are the reviews saying about that?
Well, everyone seems to agree that it's a good-looking monitor.
Yeah, like how so?
Sleek, modern, minimalist, all the good stuff. Thin bezels, you know.
Oh yeah, those are always nice.
And it's got a sturdy stand.
Yeah.
Seems like Dell's going for that gamer aesthetic with their G series, but without being too over the top.
I can dig it.
Yeah.
Actually, now that you mention it, I think I remember something about a blue LED strip.
You have a good eye. There is one. It's on the back, around the hinge. Not super noticeable, more like a subtle accent lighting thing.
Okay, I like that. Subtle's good. But can you turn it off? Asking for a friend who may or may not be extremely picky about that sort of thing.
Well, funny you should ask. One of the sources actually pointed out that you can't turn it off. It's always on.
Wait, seriously? Always on blue light? Come on, Dell, that seems a little counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Yeah, a bit of a head scratcher, especially for a monitor that's trying to appeal to such a wide range of users. I mean, some people are really sensitive to that kind of thing, you know?
Right. It's like, hey, we made this awesome monitor for all your creative and gaming needs, but also we're going to bathe your retinas in blue light all night long.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, it's a pretty minor quibble.
True enough. Not exactly a deal breaker, but definitely something to keep in mind.
Hmm.
So, okay, we've got the sleek design down, maybe a little too sleek with that always-on blue glow. What about the ergonomics of the stand itself? Any good adjustments there?
You've got your basic tilt, swivel, and height adjustment. Pretty standard for a monitor in this class. No complaints there.
Solid. What about cable management? Any good solutions for keeping things tidy?
They did mention decent cable management options, which is always a plus in my book.
Huge plus.
Yeah.
Especially for those of us who have a, shall we say, robust desk setup.
I feel you.
Speaking of which, what other little details did you find in those reviews that we should mention? Stuff that might be important for someone to know before they actually buy this monitor.
Oh, there was one thing. It's about the warranty and support.
Oh, right. Gotta make sure you're covered if anything goes wrong.
Exactly. Dell's generally got a good reputation for that, and this monitor's no exception. It comes with a 3-year advanced exchange service.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't familiar with the ins and outs of monitor warranties, what exactly does advanced exchange mean?
It means that if something goes wrong, they actually send you a replacement monitor first. Then you can send the faulty one back at your convenience.
Wow, that's pretty awesome, especially for a monitor at this price point.
Right. It's a nice little perk. And on top of that, they offer something called a premium panel exchange, which covers you for even a single bright pixel during the warranty period.
Whoa! A single bright pixel. Are they serious?
Dead serious. Apparently, they're really confident in their panel quality.
Which, honestly, is a good sign.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Features, specs, design, even the warranty.
Whew. I need a coffee break after all that.
Me too. But before we get to the caffeine, let's bring it back to the big question for someone who's listening to all this. Is this Dell G3223Q monitor worth it? Is it a winner? That's the million-dollar question, right? Is it worth it?
It really is. And, you know, it's tough to give, like, a simple yes or no answer. There are so many factors to consider.
Of course, of course. So what are the big takeaways? If someone's been tuning in, trying to decide if this monitor is right for them, what do they really need to know?
I think the biggest thing is that this monitor tries to do a lot of things well.
Versatility seems to be the key word with this one, for sure. And for the price, it really does offer a lot. Like, the color accuracy is really impressive.
Yeah.
Especially for a gaming monitor, you know? You don't always see that.
Right, right. And then on top of that, you've got that speed, that 144 hertz refresh rate. Gamers are going to love that.
Absolutely. So it's like, if you're both a gamer and a creator, this monitor is looking pretty darn appealing right about now. But...
Uh-oh. There's always a but, isn't there?
Always. And I think in this case, the but is that it doesn't quite hit a home run in every single category.
Like what? Remind us.
Well, that HDR performance, for example. On paper, HDR 600 sounds great, but the reviews suggest it doesn't quite live up to the hype.
Yeah, those dimming zones were a bit of a letdown.
They were. And then you've got those little quirks like the whole always-on blue LED thing.
Oh, yeah. That was kind of strange.
Right. Not a deal breaker for everyone, but definitely something to consider depending on your preferences.
So what's the final verdict? Is it a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none situation?
Maybe. But honestly, I think that even if it's not the absolute best in any one area, the combination of features and performance for the price is really impressive.
So it all comes down to individual needs and priorities.
Exactly. And that's something we emphasize a lot on this show, right? It's not just about looking at specs on a page. It's about figuring out what really matters to you.
Huh?
Are you a speed demon who needs those crazy fast refresh rates? Is color accuracy paramount for your work? Do you need the absolute best HDR experience money can buy? Once you know what's important to you, you can weigh those priorities against the strengths and the weaknesses we've talked about today.
Well said. You've got to find the right tool for the job. And sometimes, no single tool is perfect for every job.
Exactly. It's all about finding that sweet spot that works for you. Your workflow, your budget, all of it.
Couldn't agree more. So if you're still on the fence about the Dell G3223Q, take some time to really think about what you need from a monitor, weigh the pros and cons. And hey, if this deep dive has inspired you to do a little more research, we've got you covered. You can find links to all the reviews and articles we talked about in the episode notes.
Happy viewing.
you.